Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff, Needell and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup. Not much in terms of racing, but there is plenty to talk about in the world of motorsport. Formula One, bit of news, few changes, changes, Formula One, WEC, Formula E. I think Ross Brawn's probably cheesed you off a little bit, Tiff, but we'll come on to that as well.
Yes, we'll come on to that. Yeah, Ross keeps, yes. Oh, gosh.
But can we just firstly say, congratulate, I can't even talk, Argentina in the World Cup.
That was quite a game last night. I kept on walking away from the screen thinking, that's all right, Argentina won. I wanted Argentina to win because it was Messi. That was my only reason. And I didn't want the French to win twice in a row. So then the French kept on coming back. And
It was some game. Actually, my worst two teams in the world, Argentina because of the history with Maradona and the hand of God. But I forgave them last night and definitely wanted. I think the whole world, other than perhaps Portugal and France, wanted Argentina to win. So it was an amazing World Cup final. Whatever you say about Qatar, it was an incredible World Cup tournament as well. But enough of that. Let's get on to what we're here to talk about: motorsport, Formula One. Lots of different. I think there were 4 different changes of CEO or director of whatever you call these days.
Yeah, we'll come on to that. I've got to talk about Ross Brawn though, upsetting me again. We all talk about the merry-go-round of team CEOs. That was fascinating. It all happened in 1 week with the Ferrari and everybody else. But I keep on trying to accept Formula One as it is and think, okay, all right, I'm a dinosaur. I have to move with the times. Ross Brawn keeps on being interviewed and winding me up big time. I mean, last week or 2 weeks ago, he said he gave himself 8 out of 10, didn't he? I think, we've got 8 out of 10 for the new regulations. And I was like, well, it didn't change that much. It didn't really create much more overtaking without DRS. They followed a little bit more closely. I'm delighted also last week that Sebastian Vettel, now not having to hide in the inner circle, came out and said, well, they didn't really work, did they? They didn't do enough.
Yeah, he wasn't very complimentary about the rule changes, was he?
Well, he just pointed out, which we've been saying, in that they allowed us to follow a bit closer, but they had no slipstream. So they were now running a bit closer, but that didn't make them overtake anymore because they'd lost the natural slipstream that the older regulations created. So, no, we were all down to DRS overtakes. And someone like you put in Twitter about there were more overtakes this year than ever. So I challenged him to say, so how many of those overtakes were without using DRS and without overtaking someone in the pit? Anyway.
I don't use Twitter, and I think the rest of the world's not going to use Twitter soon if you listen to Elon Musk, because apparently they're going bankrupt.
Well, they haven't charged us yet anyway.
Hang on a minute. Forget motorsport. Imagine paying $44 billion for a company and it's going to fail a few reps later.
Potentially, I know. I haven't bothered to read the ins and outs. A lot of news at the moment, I don't bother to read the ins and outs on because it's all pretty depressing. But now Ross Brawn's latest interview, I don't know how much he's got paid for a pension pot, but he's now praising Liberty this week. And some of his quotes, he says, for product over profits, Formula One's seen a boom. Liberty have done a fantastic job. He admitted, his budget was a substantial budget to make hardly any difference at all to motorsport with his regulations. Although some Twitter people will say, give it time, it's only 1 year, but they're still so dependent on DRS to overtake. And then he also said they worked out really well. They understand they mustn't alleviate the core fans. Well, they're flipping alienating. And by my Twitter response, I'd say 80% agree with me that they don't like Formula One anymore. And it is going in the wrong direction.
Well, hang on, let me just qualify that because that is probably those 80% are probably hardcore fans. So,
core fans, yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah, but
maybe,
Ross is saying
maybe
he doesn't
the
think
new fan that comes in that like Drive to Survive. Maybe they like it.
Yes, because I was about to say that's the way motorsport is now going. So, but the point is, Ross thought they weren't alienating core fans, which I think he's got that wrong completely.
They are. You're right.
But yes, there is, thanks to Drive and Survive, a huge new crowd turning up. And because Drive and Survive is sort of a fictitious, scripted, sort of puffed up,
well, it's not
stupid
fictitious.
story.
It's just a play on. It's a play on the stories.
They twist the story,
causing issues that aren't there, and dramas. Yeah.
So, it's a bit like Monaco, funny enough. I used to have to accept, I used to defend Monaco. They said, we can't race at Monaco. You can't overtake anymore. Why do we go to Monaco? I used to say, well, because it's Monaco, it's a party weekend. Millions go there and spend billions of thousands of pounds, not even watching the race. They don't care. It's a party. It's a venue. It's an occasion, the Monaco Grand Prix. And what's now happening, thanks to Drive and Survive and Liberty, is that now the whole emphasis on every Grand Prix is to be an occasion. We've got Las Vegas coming up. We have Miami, where the celebrities on the grid, the parties afterwards, the after-show concerts with superstars, they're selling Formula One now as an occasion. And the Paddock Club tickets now, the highest level of ticket, they're talking £7,000 per head for 3 days in Paddock. Even I think it was £10,000 for Vegas. So if 4 people go, it's £40,000. Some of the Monaco prices are the same. Grandstand tickets are £1,000 on race day. And it's all become a weekend show where, to my mind now, that the race is almost a sideshow to all the boom, boom music. There's a DJ music. The apps, I was at Spa. I didn't hear it. I don't think they had it at Silverstone so much. The DJ, boom, boom, but just killing volume right up to virtually the 2-minute warning, the hyping it all up. Someone told me that even they're talking about Brundle, I think the BRDC dinner, someone was chatting away last week, and so they might have to give up on the grid walk, because even when they're walking the grid, they can hardly hear themselves think of the boom, boom music coming from the grandstands. So they're changing Formula One. Whether Ross Brawn thinks he's not alienating core fans, I think he's completely not reading enough stories. So
you did also say on this podcast earlier in the year that Monaco should probably be every 2 years. So do you stand by that, or are you going to?
Well, yeah. That's what I thought. We could have more traditional tracks getting the Grand Prix. Then that if Spa was going to be lost for Monaco, I'd rather have Monaco 1 year, Spa, and Monaco Spa. But then they're giving these venues to 4 Middle East Grand Prix, 3 in America.
Is there too much razzmatazz now? Is it too US?
Well, to me, there is. Yeah. Yes. But I mean, I think they are alienating core fans. Yeah. Now, whether we accept that, and that's it, okay. This is the future. DRS will be there forever. Hybrids will be there forever. And £7,000 for your Paddock Club tickets will be there forever. Ross also said he thought they got the right balance between the product it's delivering and what fans want to see. That's his quote. He's got the right balance between the product it is delivering, which is razzmatazz, and what fans want to see. Mm. Well, it depends who your fans are. He talked about, they've been very generous. He had a substantial budget for his new regulations he's made. So he's obviously had a good earner out of it. I think he must be on a pension pot with Liberty or something. So I just despaired. I think, the funny thing is, if they actually want it to be overtaking razzmatazz and show business and excitement, my idea we talked about, I say you should make DRS 2 seconds, because even now, I think Ross and other people have said that it's amazing. It's actually when you get within 1 second, exactly where the DRS comes into effect or not, is when you hit the turbulence. Even with these modern cars, that can follow a bit closer. Yes, I know. So cars, I've watched so many races, like you do the same now, and you're just looking at the gap between Hamilton and Russell in Brazil. Is it going to be a second, or it's 1.01? Oh, it's 1.1, or it's 0.9 halfway around the lap. And half the excitement to me is now almost watching that gap to see when he gets DRS.
Well, I guess one good thing about it is I'm not too worried about the overtakes. So, clearly it makes it for a more entertaining race. But what happens is when you have to defend more and when you have 2 cars going at it, it does bunch the whole field up. So it's a better way. So unless it's the leader off on their own, but if you're going for first and second, that typically you'll bring third place into play a lot more. So hopefully, if you did that, the 2 second rule, it would maybe bunch the pack up a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. But the final thing, if we move on, he's even in this latest interview said he's not against reverse grids in Formula One. Ross, you've been blindfolded by the money you've been earning at Liberty somehow. It's the premium motorsport. It's supposed to be a meritocracy, the best are winning. You can have all those gimmicks in any other formula you want, touring cars, but we're going to reverse grid at Le Mans next time or something. It just, basically, I can get used to the new Razzmatazz Formula One because I've been a Formula One fan for 60 years. I could live with most things, but can we just not interview Ross Brawn? Can we just winding me up? Just saying everything's
what does
wonderful.
Everyone else think? Because I get your point of view, and I think there is definitely some an area for a bit of entertainment. Because if you're paying to go to an event, you don't just want to see a 2-hour race, and you agree.
So in that case, make the DRS 2 seconds. I'm just saying that if you're going to have if you accept you have to have DRS, as I said about halfway through last season, I've now switched my brain to deciding DRS is just slipstream in a Formula Ford because there isn't any slipstream
or a Caterham.
So I've settled my little brain like that by just saying it's just a slipstream. It's a new form of slipstream. When you get close, you get sucked in and you can overtake.
I wonder how many people go to a Formula One race. It was quite interesting. Almost every single race this year was a world record, a new record of attendance, which I don't know how they managed to do that.
Will they keep coming back?
But I wonder how many people go and watch the other races, the support races.
No, they
how
don't.
Many people just turn up. Those people are paying 5, 6, 7, 10 grand for their ticket paddock passes. They probably turn up an hour before, get on the campers. But how many people are true fans who go and watch all the races to support?
Well, that's why I've hosted these corporate events, with people paying £3,000 or £4,000, not the paddock club, and they'd be with me in a restaurant just outside Monaco. They've got their tickets, their grandstands. We're supplying some champagne and their breakfast and canapes, and they turn up. And about 9 a.m., they're there early, because the Grand Prix starts at 1. And I'll say to them, it's Formula 3's on in about 10 minutes, the stars of the future. More champagne, Tiff, nice. Another croissant.
That would be with motorpassion.co.uk.
Yes, I don't mention them because I'm insulting their guests at the moment. But their guests are lovely. But and then, it's the same with the Formula 2. Formula 2 race on now, no. Then you say, drivers' parade, and they will rush out to watch. It's the same at Silverstone. It is amazing that these people pay an awful lot of money and take no interest. I mean, like the W Series, they were saying, 400,000 people watching this at the weekend. They race at 7 o'clock in the morning. There's about 400.
No, it's not.
About 400 people would get up to watch. It's so weird. So nowadays, that's it. It's the Razzmatazz. It's an occasion. You go there to the country. You have a weekend away, and you go and watch the bands and the music and superstars and have boom, boom music. And that's it. So that's what I'm having to resign myself
for everybody, because there are people that watch the sport races. There are people that go on the practice sessions go on Friday.
Oh, yeah, the true fans, the core fans. Yeah. But
those core fans, I think, are being alienated a little bit.
So, Ross, come back to the real world. Come on, take me to lunch, Ross. I'll tell you what the real fans are thinking.
Speaking of lunch, did you see all the big boys, Damon and Martin Brundle and?
I wasn't there. No.
I was surprised you weren't invited. Actually, you've been a Grand Prix driver.
You have to pay. You'll have to pay.
Briefly a Grand Prix driver.
I have to pay for your lunch. Other Formula One news.
Wait. Why was Perry McCarthy the first stick? Why was he there? Why? Just because he knows that circle of.
He used to race Formula One, so he was a Formula Ford, the famous Rat Pack. The original Rat Pack was, I think, Martin Donnelly, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, and all racing Formula Ford. Now, Palmer wasn't quite there.
Okay.
So, Palmer was way ahead of them in those genres. It was original Formula Ford. The Rat Pack was the young Formula Ford drivers, and they've befriended a few others and brought them into the lunch, the famous Rat Pack lunch.
Nice.
Mercedes. Mick Schumacher signed up as Mercedes reserve driver. No, seeing he's racing anything. Again, they're all so keen to stay within the bubble, like Daniel Ricciardo. Now Mick Schumacher and Mercedes reserve going to stand in the pits all year with the headphones on, looking like he's interested or trying to trip someone up down the stairs. The stories about Ford maybe sponsoring Red Bull's engines in the 2026, the new engines. There's a little maybe there. An interesting fact, Honda have registered interest in making a power plant for 2026 when the new engines come in. So plenty going on behind the scenes of Formula One. But then the big thing was, the new Ferrari CEO has finally been named after a while waiting for Mattia Binotto's replacement. And it's a Frenchman. They've got Frederic Vasseur from the Alfa Romeo team, which is Sauber Alfa Romeo. So they pinched him off Alfa. And hopefully this will put Ferrari back on the map. I'm very hopeful. He grew up as a race mechanic, and then he ran a team. He's an aerodynamicist. He ran his own team, ASM, and then ran ART, a famous Formula 2 team, GP2. They won the GP2 championship with Rosberg and Hamilton, so he's very used to winning races. He also ran Charles Leclerc, so it's quite handy that he's inside knowledge of Charles. He's run, Alpha now, for 5 years he's been in with Alpha. They haven't done that well, Alpha. They've had the best year this year, 6th.
Yeah, but hang on, they haven't done that well. But him as a team principal, did he do well? Did he make
like
decisions?
I say, when they won the GP2, but it is GP2 team. So Alpha's never had much controversy. They've just never had the best of cars, I don't think. So and the interesting thing is the whole circle of life, because of course the last time Ferrari was successful was when they had a Frenchman run it, because they had Jean Todt. Jean Todt was there, when they had this amazing Schumacher wins and everything else, and Kimi won the last. They won 6 out of 80 years, and the last year of Jean Todt was when Kimi Raikkonen won. And ever since then, when they let Italians take over, they haven't won a single title.
Have you ever seen? I bet nobody could ever provide me a picture of John Todd and Kimi Raikkonen laughing at the same time. Impossible, because it's almost impossible to get one of each laughing it independently, but together, I bet nobody can provide me a picture of those two laughing together.
But it was an interesting trail, because Jean Todt was a motorsport man. Then Ferrari decided they wanted to go in-house, So first of all, they put Stefano Domenicali in, who was a finance man. So they put the accountant in charge of the Formula One team. That didn't really work. And then they decided to move over. Who was the sales manager? Was it Marco Mattiacci? They put him in charge in 2040. He lasted about 6 months. Then they thought, okay, the sales manager didn't work. Let's put a marketing man in. So they put the marketing man in, was Maurizio Arrivabene, who was there, for about 4 or 5 years. So then they decided to move on another Italian with Mattia, with the engine man to head it up. So they had 4 Italians on the trot in various different departments. So let's hope. I think it's a very good choice. I think it's very good to move out of house for Ferrari to.
What about the other teams? There's a couple of other changes as well. Then
teams. It all kicked off then. So once the Alpha job was available, which of course Alpha is going to be Audi in 2026. So the man that was always going to be the Audi man was Andreas Seidel. I'm not sure it's Seidel or Seidel, a German guy who was McLaren's CEO for the last couple of years. So he's been McLaren for 2 years. And quite interesting, Zach Brown actually helped this move happen, because Andreas had told Zach that he's going to go with Audi in 2026 when Audi take over Sauber Alpha. So I think Zach said, well, you go early, because he was quite happy to promote his Italian, one of the race engineers, Andrea Stella. So it's quite, because you've got Andreas Seidel going from McLaren to Alpha, and Andrea Stella, don't get those two confused, being promoted inside McLaren. So in fact, Siedel's not going to be the team principal at Alpha. He's actually got to employ them. He's going to be the CEO. Why can't you just have a team manager? All these CEOs and team principals. So yes, after 4 Italian failures, we're back to a Frenchman running Ferrari. We've now got the German going off to get prepared for Audi coming to take over Alpha. We've got the Italian running McLaren, which Zach Brown made happen. So that'd be interesting. And then bizarrely, we had another one. The 4th one, Jos Capito left Williams. I think he was pushed rather than went. He's a bit of a strange Marmite. Apparently, he's got some very weird practices, the way he runs things. And he was a hugely successful rally team manager, or promoter, or CEO, or team principal with both Ford and Volkswagen, especially winning the World Rally Championship. He then joined McLaren Formula One about 2 years ago, I think it was, and lasted about 3 months and was out of McLaren. Then he's sort of been around. I think he went back to Volkswagen to do road car versions, the R, Volkswagen Golf R. So he left that very brief Formula One outing to go and do that. And then he got employed by Williams for 2 years, and now he's out again. No word about who's going to be Williams' new principal. Was
that one of the highlights of your TV career, driving the Williams V10 Grand Prix car?
Oh, yeah, the V10, driving the V10 Williams.
But you drove the Ferrari V10 car the same era, didn't you, Grand Prix car?
No, that was 1980. That was when the F50 came out, so it was a long way before. But Williams, they're talking about Jenson Button. So there's some weird names coming out, Jenson Button or someone like that. No, I don't think it will happen. But so anyway, lots of fun and frolics going on in Formula One as they all move from team to team. And I just really hope for Ferrari have a really solid year next year. They might not win the title, as long as they don't have any awful mistakes and embarrassments. It's nice to have Ferrari doing well.
Of course it is.
It's Ferrari.
I mean, they're the most successful team in Formula One history.
Yeah.
Full stop. So, in other news, Tiff, I did
World Endurance Championship. Where are you going? Sorry.
No, we can go to Qatar with the WEC.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just a bit of news in World Endurance Championship. Good to the Glickenhaus, who said they will enter one car next year championship because they were half in half. But everyone loved Glickenhaus. And what I'm interested in is the World Endurance Championship becoming the sort of the real fans' new formula, because Ferrari and Porsche are back. It's becoming very exciting. You've got Toyota and Peugeot, and we've got Chrysler, and we've got the Lamborghini coming. In fact, Grosjean's signed up to Lamborghini next year, and there's all sorts. Alpine coming back, and the Le Mans campsites have sold out already, to show how there's suddenly some new interest in World Endurance Championship. If you were thinking of booking a campsite for Le Mans 2023, you've missed out. So I'm very excited about World Endurance Championship. Until then, I got a bit upset because they've gone and sold their souls to Qatar, because they've signed a 6-year deal with this awful featureless Losail track, which Formula One now goes to turn, desert, sand, no grandstands, no spectators, except in the one grandstand on the huge, long, straight, huge track limits. You can control track limits in a Grand Prix with 20 cars. We've got a 50-car World Endurance Championship. There's so many curbs and shortcuts, and they've also bought the first round. So they've sort of pushed Sebring out for 2024. Sebring is opening it this year. So it's like they all buy the first and last round, don't they? The more money you've got, you can have the opening round or the last round of the championship. So it's a bit of a thin-edged sword. 6 years of Losail. There's only 7 rounds in a year. There's only 7 tracks.
Maybe it will end up being the most spectacular race of the season.
It can't be. It just turn.
But why not? Why not? If the cars, maybe they're just going to really click around there, and it's just going to be the most epic race ever.
But they won't look exciting. Unless you've got some dips and hollows and curbs and fences and something coming close.
Undulation. Look at Spa. Look at Brands. Look at
any American circuit with
Sebring,
IMSA, Road America. Yeah. So now we've got Sebring, great tracks. We're opening next year at Sebring. There's then Spa, which is a great track. There's Le Mans, obviously, which is fantastic. Monza, I don't like that much. It's got a history. They've got a Portimao, amazingly new. There's a new track.
There's a new exciting track.
New exciting track. Fuji, it's a very traditional sports car round. They did it in Bahrain, so they do Bahrain. So now they'll have 2 of the 7 will be Middle East.
So you said to me once about when I was doing some practicing, you said 12 laps, you should be up. You should be really know the track by then. But blimey, Portimao is different grade, isn't it? That's tricky.
So I'm looking forward to Portimao. I'm not so sure about Losail. I thought with Qatar they were going to build a new track somewhere else, but I might be wrong. I thought that was I know they're modernising Losail, but more in the sort of paddocks and everything else. But it's not a circuit. Bahrain's not a very good track. Again, that's pretty featureless.
Formula One. You've got some undulation. You've got a little, drop down the hill and come back.
But very few, the down the hill S's. But then that sort of ends almost immediately in that horrible tight right-hander, and then there's an awful left-hander, that really tight hairpin. If you do that in a normal race car, that left-handed hairpin, which you approach the left-handed braking curve, so you can't really overtake easily without clouting someone, it's such a tight corner in most cars. So good news and some slightly bad news in the World Endurance Championship for me.
Okay, I've got some news. Caterham news. Yes. This is more exciting than WEC and Le Mans and all that stuff.
You're in for another season. Have you signed up?
No, sadly not. But Caterham are going to Barbados next November. They're doing a little Barbados championship. So they're putting 6 cars on a 40-foot trailer. So they get multiples of 6. And they sold out 24 cars for this race within, I think, 24 hours or something.
Which category, though? Which class?
That's a very good question. I think it must be 270s. Yeah, sort of middle of the pack, I'm guessing. But that'd be a fun way to end the season. Not that I'm going to have a season, but it would be a fun way to end the season. I just thought that was a nice little Caterham story.
Nice little idea to my mate. Well, I went out there and did that track with Top Gear Live with Clarkson and Hammond and May. Yeah, fun little track. Then the last motorsport news really is Formula E. So Formula E, positive See, let's be positive, Paul, from Formula E. The new Gen 3 cars have arrived. They had a 3 days testing down in Valencia. And there's so much new in this Gen 3 car. It's quite interesting. They got more power, they're lighter. But funny enough, they weren't that much quicker around Valencia than the old cars. Yep. So they didn't know why about 0.2 quicker. It could have been the tyres. Of course, they've gone from Michelin to hand-cooked tyres, so new tyres. Most bizarre thing about them is they have no rear brakes. And it's all in the regen. It's as a driver. I mean, obviously, it's all fly-by-wire braking. I'd be half terrified to constantly know that.
Absolutely.
So they've got regen on the front plus front brakes and regen on the back. So every time you lift off, the braking is done by regen. But of course, you know, when the batteries are full, regen doesn't really work that much. So I don't know quite how they're going to get any rear braking.
So when the batteries are full. With the Generation 3 cars now, can they race flat out the whole time?
Oh, of course not. Stupid.
Well, not excited then. You might be excited. I'm not excited.
Even Formula E say it's an energy conservation formula. They have to regen 40% of their power to get to the finish.
Well, I can understand regeneration because that just adds more power, but I can't understand not being able to race it flat out. Why don't they reduce it by 2 laps and let people race flat out?
Well, at the moment, they can only do about 60% of the track. If they have to regen 40%, they can only get halfway. If they race flat out, they'll all run out.
I'm sorry. It doesn't do it. Racing, okay, that's not racing.
However, for some of our listeners that may be interested, they've got some horrible air on nose wings. They've got these weird slanted triangles with the pointed tip at the bottom of the front, just ready to be lined up with the wheel of the car in front of you, which goes slightly inside. I know it was weird front wings. One good thing is they've dropped the fan boost, so that ridiculous, giving 2 cars extra boost at the end of the race because you've got more fans on the internet. Yep. But the other big thing may be coming up during the season is pit stop recharges. Some people obviously keen to get this in. I think ABB, the sponsor, aren't they involved in recharging? So they're talking about a 30-second stop for a 600 kilowatt charger. Now, I know you love charging up at charging points, which promise 150 kilowatts, and then you dribble out 23.
Of our life when you're filming, charging electric cars is horrific.
So they might introduce that halfway through the season. But it's a funny old formula.
I like the rallycross. Sorry, Tiff. I like rallycross, the electric rallycross that we featured.
Because they go full power.
Well, and also I like the fact that when they want to change a battery, it takes 15 minutes, so they'll change the whole battery out. So they're not messing around.
I don't think they do that in the car. I know that was the one car we tested had that battery swapping. I'm not sure some of the current World Rallycross formulas have that facility.
I'm not sure. Starred. So I don't know.
3 teams left Formula E: Rocket, Venturi, Mercedes, and DS Cheetah. 3 new teams to replace them was McLaren, of course, quite a big name. Maserati, a big name, and Cupra, Abt Cupra. So those are 3 new teams in. Amazingly, only 7 of the 22 drivers are in the same seats as they were last year. So you talk about merry-go-round of Formula One CEOs, it would appear that Formula E has got a bigger only 1 team, Jaguar, has got the same pairing, which is, of course, Sam Bird, British, and Mitch Evans. That's quite surprising. Only 7 drivers in the same seats.
Yeah, because you do form a bond, don't you, with your team and your crew and everything?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, only 4 drivers have left, as Nick de Vries has gone up to Formula One. Antonio Giovinazzi, having dropped out of Formula One, was the only driver to not score any points last year, and he's been dumped out of Formula E. The American Oliver Askew's been dropped out, and sadly also Oliver Turvey's lost his seat. So 4 drivers out. A new driver's in for this year, Jake Hughes in the McLaren. That's great. Jake, young British driver, was in Formula 2 last year. René Rast, the Germans, come to join Nissan. Nico Müller, the Swiss driver, is joining Mahindra. And the French guy, Norman Nato, has gone to Nissan. But Nato did Formula E a couple of years ago, so...
I'm excited to see how Cupra are going to do, because they're building some really good-looking cars at the moment. I know looks aren't everything, but so that'd be quite interesting how they mix it up with the big boys like Jaguar and McLaren et al. So
5 Brits, just to quickly finish off my Formula E reports. 5 British. We've got the most drivers, the British drivers: Jake Hughes, Sam Bird, Oliver Rowland, Dan Ticktum having another year, and Jake Dennis. So there's your good news. You've got 5 Brits, new cars, like it or love it. We've got wheels that get into locks. They're talking about overtaking a bit more hazardous. They won't be doing those awful dive, push, bumper car passes because they knock their wheels off. All starts in Mexico on the 14th of January. It all finishes in London on July the 30th.
That's quite a weird season, isn't it?
I know. Well, they always used to have, or try to have, this sort of 2023, 22, 23 and 23, 24. Maybe they're going to start that again. Maybe the next 24 season will start in 23. Who knows? You never know with Formula E, do you? They'll come up with some new wacky idea. But you've got to watch it. You've got to watch the Mexican race. Don't watch the video there where their promotion was over 200 miles an hour. I don't think any Formula E circuit ever gets to.
I bet nobody's done 200 miles an hour in a race in a Formula E car.
No way.
Correct us if we're wrong. And speaking of being corrected, I was corrected because, of course, we did our poll on the 22 Grand Prix drivers last year, and because I put Nick De Vries what's his name? Nick
Nick De Vries.
De Vries, thank you. At 8th place, I got a bit of shit for that, but it was just commending a guy coming in and doing so well on his compared to.
I didn't mind that. It was, it was a story of the year. An amazing position.
Yeah, just defending.
So you're still not going to watch Formula E then? Well, they have to go and still lift and coast.
Lift and
coast.
It's not racing. It's lift and coast. It's lift and coast. It's a game of stress. It's a strategy game. It's not racing. You want a race needs to be flat out the whole time, 10 tenths the whole time
without DRS. And it wants to be without DRS.
I don't mind DRS. I don't mind it if it makes
it's not
it
DRS. It's not it's slipstream, Tiff. It's slipstream. All that is when you get close, you get slipstream that pulls you past at an amazing state of knots.
What are you doing? What are you doing this time next week? Well, actually, this time next week is Christmas. What are you doing for Christmas? Tell our listeners and viewers.
Staying at home and not going to Boxing Day Brands Hatch. Oh, the Needell family, late 50s, early 60s. Oh, as a kid, the excitement for me. Forget Christmas presents. Get to Boxing Day. Oh, those trips to Brands family. Oh, it was wonderful club racing, Formula 3 saloons.
From where? Where did you drive from?
From Weybridge, Surrey, my little rented apartment in Surrey, and an hour's drive. And there was just so much excitement. Mum would make a picnic hamper
on Boxing Day. Is Boxing Day
just Brands Hatch? Brands Hatch.
Okay.
Mallory Park. Actually, I raced one at Mallory Park. They used to have a Boxing Day as well, and I actually did Boxing Day at Mallory Park. We had the rugs over our knees. Mum made the tomato soup in a thermos, and that's turkey sandwiches. I used to love any race. I was so excited to go watch motor racing whenever I could go to Goodwood for Easter Monday. So that's all.
It does make the back of the neck, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Hearing stories like that, that's brilliant, because you are a true motor fan. We really are.
I am the boy from the terrace that made it onto the World Cup stage.
Yeah, amazing. And whether you like your opinions or not, you're a true fan. You're a motorsport fan.
Actually, I'm halfway through reading Andy Marriot's book. Well, I haven't got the title of it with me here. You can look for Andy Marriott. And I know no modern fan will buy it or read it unless I implore them to borrow or get a copy, because the tales of him being a motorsport journalist in the 60s and 70s and the teams he involved with and the scams and taking Formula 3 drivers in their camper vans and their Formula 3 car on the back of the Volkswagen pickup truck and racing from private. I mean, wonderful stories from the 60s and 70s of how the background of motorsport was before it became so corporately dominated. The fun and games have gone, and Ross Brawn is here to stay. I wonder where he's going to work. He's going to be going somewhere. I'm sure he's going to be commenting. He'll be a columnist who'll upset me every month.
Well, don't talk about columnists. So your mate Jeremy Clarkson, what he said over the weekend about Meghan Markle. That's 6,000. I
haven't read that yet.
6,000 Ofcom complaints already. It's really properly kicked off because he was.
I'm just going to find out.
He was quoting, I believe, from Game of Thrones. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but he's quoting from there, and he was saying, "Strip her naked and throw excrement at her in the streets," and it didn't go down very well. So even his own daughter.
What was this in? Where did he write this then? In the Sun or something?
In the Sun.
In the Sun.
Even his own daughter said, "I do not stand by my father's comments." So next week is Christmas. So we're going to have our first week off in the whole history of this podcast. So we're looking forward to that. Well, we're not looking forward to having a week off. We're looking forward to Christmas. But then we come back in the new year. We kick off with Dakar. And actually, thank you very much, Audi UK, because I'm going to be going to Dakar, but mid-January. So when
are you?
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, you are?
Well,
you.
There was only one space, and they sent the invite through to us, so I kind of got there first, and but that's going to be good.
Hot favourites to win. We're doing a preview of it. So our next show is going to be on January the 2nd, which is the day after Dakar has its traditional start. It's a 2-week event, isn't it, or more? I think. Audi have to be favourite, I think, because they were so quick last year with that electric machine. What's it got? A V6 engine or a V? It's got a motor running. Well, it charges itself up. It's got its own petrol engine. It's a fully electric transmission. So you don't even know about it. I should be invited because I know about the Audi Dakar car and you don't.
Right. On that note, I'm going. I think I'm going.
Hope you get sand in your sandwiches.
Yeah, I'm going on Friday the 13th. Oh, there we go. That's an omen, isn't it? Friday the 13th. So I'll be there for a couple of days. So we'll probably do the podcast Monday the 16th of January live from Dakar.
Oh, will we? I look forward to. Well, I don't look forward to that. Well, I hope you look forward to you singing a sandstorm.
I'll probably be in an airport lounge somewhere.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Have an Happy New Year. Happy Christmas. Happy New Year. See you on January the 2nd. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks for joining. Cheers.